for almost 10 years. Although in the China's one-child policy was implemented in 1979, was the first put forward in 1979. But the policy, the one-child policy was rigidly implemented in the year 1983. So if you really do the study on the Chinese fertility issues, you will find we can see that one. So now the one-child policy actually is implemented, proposed here, but we see the fluctuation did not continue to decline. So the most of these kind of the coercive methods used in the China family planning program mainly happened in that time period. Because really at that time, the government want to implement the rigid one-child policy, but the resistance from the rural area, rural population, very huge. So at that time, the government or the local family planning program use this kind of coercive method to do that. So in the year 1984, the government issued a new directive that okay, the shape the current situation. The situation of the family planning programs. But in the early 1980s, the government want to implement a policy for every Chinese families. So this is the resistance is huge. Then in 1984, the government said, okay, only we implement the one-child policy in the urban area, in the rural area, basically a two-children policy. So since then, the coercive methods used less and less. The resistance to the policy is also gradually declining. So that's the situation. Then we can see that one of the issues of this kind of fluctuation in the 1980s is also partially caused by the population momentum. Because the baby boomer, they have their childbearing in the 1980s. So this is partially the period effect. It's not the cohort effect of the fertility decline. So this is the fluctuation of the fertility in the 1980s, mainly caused by the baby boom, the momentum of the fertility decline.
May I ask one additional question, please?
Yes.
So the whole decline from there, the top in the 1960s to the lower level at 1976, 77, that decline there, that was before the one-child policy.
Before that, yeah.
Can you explain? Maybe you told, but I didn't hear you well enough. Can you explain how that fertility rate was going down over more than a decade before the one-child policy?
So this, I think that actually, so in China we regard it as some kind of the two kind of the fertility transition. One is from very high fertility to a relatively low fertility. So this happened in the 1970s, from very close to 6 down to very lower than 3. So this is the fertility decline without, almost without any coercive methods. And the policy is just encourages later marriage and later childbearing, longer birth interval, fewer but healthy children. So this basically is through this kind of the knowledge, education, the provision of the family planning contraceptive service. So this mainly happened use this kind of the methods and approaches. So that's we can see that. So some people, or today, we said, okay, if China did not implement a one-child policy, but we continue this later, longer, and fewer policy in the 1970s. So we may achieve the similar achievement of population, the slowdown of the population growth, but with much less this kind of the violation of the basic reproductive rights. So that's some kind of argument happening here. But basically we can see for the 1970s, because in general, these are just we prevented the unwanted pregnancy. So because in general, Chinese families, they do not want a very big family. But 3 is a very normal, very typical designed for the family size at that time period. So the people is relatively easy to accept the government call to implement the policy voluntarily at that time.
Yes, maybe over there.
Thank you both speakers. My name is Hilde Kroes. I work for World Population Foundation. I also have a question to you, Dr. Peng, about the policy that one can have 2 children when the first one is a girl. I wonder why this is invented, and is this kind of a reaction to the fact that boys are now outnumbering the girls? And can you also speak a little bit about the social implications? What does it mean for a girl to be a girl in current China? Thank you.
So actually, that's sometimes from the gender equality viewpoint, that definitely this policy is not a good policy. So it's in one of the articles I wrote that it's institutionalized the gender inequality in China. In the past, people just have some preference, but this is just preference. But when you make it become a policy, it's you just institutionalize. You accept this is the rationale of this gender inequality. But this is also a kind of the Chinese reality at this moment, especially in rural areas. Because in China, the marriage pattern is still daughter are married out and daughter-in-law are married in. In China's rural area, because there is no government-sponsored pension system, the family still rely on their married sons to support them in their old ages. So if that family, there is no son in their family, so it means that the older parents will lost security when they become older. So in that case, there is a compromise between the equality ideology with this kind of Chinese reality. So the government said, the policy maker said, okay, so if the first child is a girl, then you can try another time. Maybe this another time will give you a boy, then you can solve the problem of the old age security. But anyway, when you have 2 children, if the 2 children are both of them are girls, then you have to stop. So of course there is some debate on whether this kind of the policy is one of the causes of this kind of abnormal sex ratio at birth. Someone said because if the first child is a girl, then the people can try to have the second child. If the second child is still a girl, then or during the pregnancy, the mother or the parents will have to abort that pregnancy. So this, for me, I think that it's related, but not the main reason for that. We know that the abnormal sex ratio at birth mainly causes the pre-birth selective abortion. So that when this kind of selective abortion was caused by the identification of the pregnancy. In China, mainly we use the technique of the ultrasound machine because this is widely available in the maternal care. So this almost this Chinese village you can find this ultrasound machine. So usually it's relatively easy for the Chinese parents if they are desperately want to have a boy in their family. So they will accept every kind of means, try to guarantee the pregnancy will result in a baby boy. So that's partially linked to this kind of policy. But even some kind of the scenario analysis said, even you withdraw this policy, you universally allow 2 children per family. But these things still happen because Chinese still prefer have more boys than girls in rural areas. So that's I'm not sure whether I answered your question. Yeah.
Okay. There were a number of questions here. Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question is a little bit related to what...
Maybe you can stand up.
Oh, I'm so tall.
Then we can all better hear you. And say, please, who you are and where you're from.
Okay, my name is Irene. I'm a student here at ISS, but from Kenya. Thank you, Professor Peng, for the informative presentation. What I wanted to talk about actually is related to what the lady has just talked about. It was the issue